More. What if the very thing you call impossible today is the exact stage set for your greatest breakthrough tomorrow? More. Think about it. What if the limitations you see are not meant to stop you, but to invite you into a deeper trust? Too often, we look at mountains and declare they cannot be moved. Yet the truth is that mountains are not permanent. They are waiting for someone bold enough to believe beyond sight. To believe for the impossible means you stop measuring your future by what your present looks like. It means refusing to let statistics, reports, or circumstances define your destiny. It means you recognize that human limits are not divine limits. When the natural ends, that is exactly where the supernatural begins. Your belief is not in what you can do, but in the one who can do what no one else can. But belief without action is empty. Faith demands a step. It's not about waiting for everything to be clear before you move. It's about moving because you trust even when things are not clear. The step of faith is often uncomfortable. It will stretch you, it may even scare you, but it is the only pathway that leads you into impossible victories. The ground beneath your feet is waiting to appear, but it only reveals itself when you dare to move. Obstacles will always rise when you decide to step out. Resistance grows stronger the closer you get to breakthrough. Do not mistake delays or difficulties as denial. They are simply tools that refine your strength. Every opposition is an opportunity for growth. Every delay is a reminder that timing is divine, not human. The impossible becomes possible in the furnace of patience and perseverance. To step into the impossible, you must shift your focus from what your eyes see to what your spirit knows. The unseen is greater than the seen. Hope must become your anchor. Vision must become your compass. The noise around you will try to convince you to settle for less, but your inner assurance must remind you that you are called to more. What you carry is not ordinary, it is destined for extraordinary. And here is the truth: when you finally step out in faith, what once looked like a wall will turn into a door. What once looked like defeat will transform into a testimony. The impossible will bow before the unshakable belief of one who dares to trust. It is not about how strong you are, but about how willing you are to place your weakness in the hands of the one who makes all things possible. The impossible is not a barrier, it is an invitation to trust beyond human reasoning. When we look at life through the lens of our own understanding, we often see limits everywhere. We see doors closed, resources lacking, opportunities slipping away, and dreams that feel too distant to reach. The word impossible rises up like a wall in front of us, convincing us that this is the end of the road. Yet the truth is that impossibility is not a dead end but a doorway. It is not meant to discourage you, but to point you toward a greater reality that cannot be measured by human strength or calculated by logic. The impossible is where the natural gives way to the supernatural. It is where you stop relying solely on yourself and begin leaning on a power far greater than your own. Every time life places an impossible in front of you, it is as though heaven is whispering, will you trust me here? Because belief in the possible is no belief at all. It is easy to trust when you see the way forward, when the plan is clear, and when all the resources are within reach. But faith is not forged in the comfort of certainty. Faith is born when all certainty is stripped away, and the only thing left to hold on to is the conviction that what you cannot see is more real than what you can. The impossible, then, becomes an invitation to rise above human reasoning and step into divine assurance. Think about the moments in your life when you faced something that felt overwhelming, a challenge you thought you could never overcome. At the time, it may have felt like the end. But looking back now, you see that those very moments became the foundation for growth, strength, and breakthroughs you could not have imagined. The impossible forced you to dig deeper, to believe harder, and to discover that what you thought was the end was actually the beginning of something new. If it were not for those walls of impossibility, More, you would never have learned how strong your faith could become. The human mind is limited, bound by what it can calculate and explain. Logic has its place, more, but logic cannot carry you into the extraordinary. The impossible cannot be solved with formulas or equations. It requires trust beyond what makes sense. More, when everything around you says no, but you choose to believe in a greater yes, you open the door for miracles to take shape. More, trusting beyond reasoning means choosing to see possibility where others see failure. It means holding on to hope when circumstances tell you to give up. More, it means daring to stand firm even when everything in you feels like collapsing. The impossible also reveals your true dependence. More, as long as you can figure it out, you will rely on yourself. But when you reach the end of yourself, more, you discover that you were never meant to carry the weight alone. The impossible is a reminder that your strength is not enough. More, but that is not bad news. It is the best news. Because when your strength runs out, a greater strength takes over. More, the invitation of the impossible is not just to see what can be done, but to see who is with you in the middle of it. And here is the beautiful paradox. More, what you call impossible today may one day be the very thing you testify about tomorrow. More, what seems like a mountain too high to climb can become the very platform from which you speak of triumph. The invitation of the impossible is to trust, more to believe, and to step forward even when nothing makes sense. It is in those moments that life is transformed and the extraordinary is revealed. More, faith requires stepping where the ground is not visible yet believing it will hold you. More, this is one of the most challenging and yet most liberating truths you will ever embrace. More, most people live their lives waiting for certainty before they act. They want the guarantee of success, the clarity of the outcome, more, and the safety of visible support before they move forward. But faith does not work that way. Faith asks you to step when the path looks uncertain, more when the details are not yet revealed, and when the outcome is hidden behind the veil of the unseen. More, it is in that stepping, before you see the ground, that faith becomes alive. More, it is in the courage to act without a visible guarantee that impossible things become possible. More, imagine standing at the edge of a cliff with fog covering the valley below. Logic tells you to stay where you are, to wait until the fog clears, more to wait until you can see the next step. But faith says, take the step now, more even if you cannot see where your foot will land. This is not recklessness. It is trust. It is the belief that though you cannot see the ground, more, there is something solid waiting to meet your step. It is trusting that your journey is guided, and that each movement forward will reveal the next. More, faith is not about knowing every detail, it is about trusting enough to move even when you do not. This kind of faith requires courage, more, because everything in your natural instincts will resist it. Your mind will say, wait until you know more. Your heart may whisper, more. What if it doesn't work out? Fear will paint 1,000 pictures of failure, trying to chain you to inaction. Yet faith asks a deeper question. More, what if it does work out? What if the miracle you are waiting for is one step away? More, what if the door you have been praying for only opens when you move closer to it? The only way to find out is to take that step. More, stepping when the ground is invisible also develops a resilience that cannot be gained any other way. Each time you move in faith, even in uncertainty, more, you discover a strength you did not know you had. You realize that the ground does appear, one step at a time. You begin to trust the process, more even when it feels slow. You learn that clarity often comes after obedience, not before it. More, the journey of faith is not about having a perfect roadmap, but about trusting the guide who walks with you. And here lies a powerful truth. More, the ground may never appear until you move. Too many people wait their entire lives for everything to line up perfectly, for every detail to be guaranteed. More, but life does not reward hesitation, it rewards action born of trust. The step you are afraid to take may be the very key that unlocks your destiny. More, the miracle you are waiting for is often hidden in the courage you have not yet shown. When you finally move, doors open, resources align, more, and opportunities unfold in ways you never imagined. The beauty of faith is that it teaches you that the unseen is more reliable than the seen. More, you begin to understand that what you cannot yet see is often more real than what you can. You learn to trust timing that is not your own. More, strength that is beyond your own, and outcomes that are better than your own plans. More, faith is not about reckless leaps, but about obedient steps, steps taken in trust, steps taken in hope. More, steps taken in confidence that you are not walking alone. So, if you feel the pull to step but cannot see the ground, do not wait for perfect clarity. More, take the step anyway. Trust that something greater than your fear will meet you there. And when it does, more, you will look back and realize that the invisible ground was always waiting for your faith to reveal it. More, obstacles are not signs of failure, but confirmations that you are on the path of divine stretching. Too often, when resistance shows up, we assume it means we are going in the wrong direction. We take setbacks as signals that we should give up, that maybe we misread the journey, or that the dream we carry is too big. But in truth, the presence of obstacles often means the exact opposite. More, it is evidence that you are pressing into new territory, that you are stretching beyond what is comfortable, and that growth is taking place. More, obstacles are not punishments, they are instruments shaping you into the kind of person who can carry the weight of the blessing that lies ahead. More, think about how muscles grow in the body. They do not become stronger through ease or relaxation. They become stronger through resistance, more, through the tension that tears them just enough to rebuild into something greater. More, the pain of that resistance is not a signal of weakness, but the very process of becoming stronger. The same is true in your spiritual and personal journey. More, the obstacles you face are not random blocks. They are purposeful pressures that are meant to refine your strength, deepen your character, and expand your faith. Without them, you would remain at the same level, unprepared for the greater things waiting for you. When challenges arise, the question is not why me, but what is this shaping in me? That change in perspective transforms frustration into opportunity. Every difficulty becomes a teacher. Every delay becomes a lesson in patience. Every closed door becomes a redirection towards something greater. And though it may not feel like it in the moment, these obstacles are actually confirmations that you are walking in alignment with a bigger plan. If your path were empty of resistance, it would mean you were not growing. But because resistance appears, it shows you that your journey has weight, more purpose and significance. Obstacles also test your vision. They ask you how badly you want what you say you desire. Anyone can talk about dreams when the road is smooth, but it is in the face of resistance that true commitment is revealed. Will you press forward when it costs you something? Will you stay faithful when doors slam shut? Will you hold on to belief when others let go? Obstacles have a way of stripping away shallow intentions, leaving behind a purified determination. They prove whether your dream is just an idea or a conviction you are willing to fight for. Obstacles cultivate trust in timing. You may want things to happen immediately, but sometimes the delays created by challenges are the very pauses that allow all the right pieces to come together. The waiting seasons are not wasted, they are preparation. What looks like a setback may simply be the rearranging of circumstances so that when the breakthrough comes, it arrives in fullness, not fragments. Without obstacles, you might rush into something prematurely, unready to handle it. The resistance forces you to slow down, to strengthen, and to prepare for the weight of what you are asking for. And here lies the mystery often. The very thing you call a barrier today becomes the foundation for your testimony tomorrow. The hardship you endure now will one day be the story you tell to inspire someone else. The obstacle that seems unbearable in this moment will one day make sense when you see how it prepared you for doors that were far greater than what you first imagined. More, the very resistance that makes you want to quit is often the clearest proof that you are pressing against the threshold of something significant. More, so do not fear the obstacles in front of you. Welcome them as confirmations that you are on the right path. Let them stretch you, refine you, more, and prepare you. Remember that gold is not refined in comfort, but in fire, and diamonds are not formed without pressure. Likewise, more, your destiny cannot be shaped without resistance. More, obstacles are not the end of your journey. They are the chisels carving you into the person who is ready to step into everything you have been created for. More, the unseen world is more powerful than what your eyes can perceive. Learn to walk with inner vision. More, we often live as though what we see in front of us is all there is. The bills on the table, the closed doors, the difficult people, more, the lack of opportunities, all these things appear so real and final. Yet what you see is only a fraction of reality. The visible world is temporary, more shifting and limited, but the unseen world carries greater weight, permanence, and power. When you learn to live by inner vision instead of outward sight, more, you begin to understand that appearances are not the ultimate truth. What looks like emptiness may be a season of hidden preparation. More, what feels like loss may actually be positioning for gain. What appears impossible on the surface may already be resolved in the unseen. More, waiting for the right moment to unfold. Walking with inner vision means you choose to look beyond what your natural eyes tell you. More, sight says you don't have enough. Vision says provision is already on the way. Sight says the door is closed. More, vision says a greater door is being built that you cannot yet see. Sight says you are surrounded by problems. More, vision says you are surrounded by possibilities. The challenge for most people is that they trust sight more than vision. They let what they see dictate what they believe. But faith turns that equation upside down. More, faith insists that what is unseen is more reliable than what is seen. It teaches you to lean into inner assurance rather than external evidence. More, when you walk with inner vision, you start to live with a different kind of confidence. You are no longer easily shaken by setbacks. More, because you understand that what looks like a setback is often only part of a larger setup. You are not as discouraged by delays. More, because you recognize that timing is being arranged in a way you cannot yet perceive. You stop panicking when resources run low. More, because you know that unseen provision has a way of showing up right when it is needed. Inner vision allows you to remain steady in the storm. More, anchored not by what is visible but by what is promised deep within. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending struggles don't exist. More, it means acknowledging them but refusing to be ruled by them. There is a difference between what you see and what you choose to believe. More, you can face lack and still declare abundance. You can face sickness and still choose life. You can face rejection and still believe acceptance is waiting. More, to walk with inner vision is to allow hope to override despair, to let courage silence fear, and to let faith speak louder than doubt. More, it is living from the inside out instead of the outside in. The unseen world also teaches you patience. Because you cannot see everything at once. More, you must trust the process. Seeds planted underground are unseen for a season, but that does not mean they are dead. More, growth happens invisibly before it breaks into the visible. In the same way, the answers you are waiting for, the dreams you are pursuing, more, and the breakthroughs you long to see may already be in motion in the unseen, though you do not yet see the results. More, the waiting period is not evidence of absence, it is evidence of unfolding. More, trusting in the unseen means believing that movement is happening even when nothing seems to change. Learning to walk by inner vision is not easy. More, but it transforms how you live. You stop reacting to every circumstance and start responding with assurance. More, you stop letting fear have the loudest voice and start listening to the quiet confidence within. More, you stop shrinking back because of what looks impossible and start stepping forward because of what you believe is possible. More, your life is no longer dictated by what appears in front of you, but by the greater reality unfolding beyond it. More so, do not limit your journey to what your eyes can see. Lift your vision higher. Trust the unseen more than the seen. More, live with the confidence that there is more happening around you than you realize, and that what is being formed in the unseen is stronger, greater, more, and more enduring than anything your sight can measure. When you learn to walk with inner vision, more, you stop being bound by appearances and start being guided by assurance. And in that place, the impossible becomes possible. More, trusting God for the impossible requires surrendering your limited timeline to His perfect timing. More, one of the greatest struggles people face is the need for control. We want things to happen quickly, on our schedule, and in the exact way we imagine. More, when delays come, we assume something is wrong, or worse, that we have been forgotten. Yet the truth is that waiting is not wasted, and delay is not denial. More, trusting for the impossible means letting go of the urge to dictate when and how your breakthrough arrives. More, it is about placing your timeline into hands far wiser than your own and believing that the unfolding of your life is being guided with precision and care. More, our human timeline is shaped by impatience. We live in a culture of speed, where everything is about instant gratification. We want results immediately. More, answers overnight, and solutions at the push of a button. More, but spiritual growth and divine breakthrough do not work according to the clocks and calendars we cling to. The impossible often requires preparation, more, alignment, and timing that stretches far beyond what we can see. If you received everything you wanted when you wanted it, more, you would not be ready to handle it. More, sometimes the delay exists not because the blessing is unprepared, but because you are still being prepared to receive it. More, surrendering your timeline requires humility. It means admitting that you cannot see the full picture, that your perspective is limited. More, what looks like a setback today may actually be the very thing that protects you from harm or positions you for something greater tomorrow. More, timing is not only about when you are ready, it is also about when everything around you is aligned. The right opportunities, the right people, more, the right conditions, all these have to converge at the appointed moment. Until then, waiting is not punishment but preparation. More, the waiting season also teaches trust. If everything happened instantly, faith would never have the chance to grow. More, the gap between promise and fulfillment is where your trust is tested and strengthened. It is in the waiting that you learn endurance, patience, more, and resilience. It is in the waiting that you discover peace that does not depend on circumstances. By surrendering your limited timeline, more, you begin to experience freedom because you no longer live chained to deadlines of your own making. You step into rest, more, knowing that the timing of your life is not random but intentional. There is also wisdom in divine timing that we often only understand in hindsight. More, you may look back one day and realize that if things had happened earlier, they would have crumbled because you were not ready. More, you may recognize that a door had to stay closed until you had the maturity to walk through it with wisdom. More, you may even see that unanswered prayers were not neglect but protection. What feels like silence in the moment often becomes clarity in the future. More, trusting the impossible requires believing that the author of your story knows where each chapter belongs, even when you cannot read ahead. More, surrendering your timeline does not mean giving up your dreams. It means holding them with open hands, willing to trust that if they are meant for you, more, they will arrive at the right moment. More, it means releasing the constant pressure of when, and replacing it with the confidence of will. This release frees you from anxiety and worry. More, instead of stressing over how long it will take, you begin to focus on who you are becoming in the process. The journey itself becomes valuable, more, not just the destination. So if you are waiting, do not see it as wasted time. See it as sacred time. More, something is being shaped in you and around you that could not happen if everything came too quickly. Trust that the delay is part of the design. More, rest in the assurance that your timeline is not forgotten but being perfected. The impossible is not just about the outcome. It is about the timing. More. And when the right moment comes, it will unfold in such a way that you will know it could only have been orchestrated beyond human hands. More. That is the power of surrendering your limited timeline to His perfect timing. When you step out in faith, what seems impossible transforms into testimony. More, every great story of victory begins with someone daring to move despite uncertainty. It is not the absence of fear or doubt that births breakthroughs. More, but the decision to act even while those feelings exist. The impossible looks intimidating until it is conquered, and then it becomes a story of triumph. More, what once stood as a wall becomes the very foundation of your testimony. The act of stepping out in faith is what bridges the gap between hope and reality, more between promise and fulfillment. Without the step, the miracle remains hidden, but with it, what seemed unreachable begins to unfold. More, testimonies are born not in moments of ease, but in moments of courage. A testimony is proof that the impossible was not as final as it appeared. More, it becomes a living reminder that what once threatened to stop you actually propelled you forward. But testimonies don't just happen. More, they require your participation. You have to take the step that others are too afraid to take, the step that says, more. I trust what I cannot see more than I fear what I can. That single decision has the power to change everything. More, because it shifts you from passively waiting to actively believing. The step of faith is often small but significant. More, it could be making a choice to try again after failure, to apply where rejection once came, to speak when silence feels safer. More, or to move when fear says stay still. These steps may not seem monumental in the moment, but they are the sparks that ignite transformation. More, the impossible rarely changes all at once. It changes because of small, more steady acts of courage that accumulate into undeniable proof that you were never walking alone. Each step strengthens you. Each step silences fear. More, each step pushes the impossible further into the realm of reality. More, what transforms impossibility into testimony is not just the outcome but also the process. Your journey of faith shapes you as much as it shapes the result. More, along the way you learn resilience, you discover inner strength, and you uncover a capacity for trust you never knew you had. More, the very obstacles that once frightened you become stories you now share with confidence. They are no longer scars of defeat, but marks of victory. More, what once felt unbearable becomes the very evidence that you endured, and in enduring, you overcame. Your testimony also becomes bigger than you. More, what you walk through in faith becomes light for someone else still standing in the dark. The steps you take inspire others to take their own. More, the impossible you faced becomes proof to them that impossibility can be broken. Your faith, once personal, more ripples outward to touch lives you may never fully know. More, a testimony is not just your story, it is a seed of hope planted in the heart of others who hear it. This is why stepping out is so important. More, the story of your courage may be the encouragement another person desperately needs. And here is the remarkable truth. More, once you carry a testimony of the impossible, fear begins to lose its grip on you. The next time you face a mountain, you remember the last one that moved. More, the next time you feel weak, you recall the strength you discovered when you least expected it. Testimonies accumulate. More, becoming a library of faith you can return to when the road gets rough. Each story reminds you that the impossible is never final. More, and that stepping out is always worth it. So do not underestimate the power of a single step. The ground may shake, the way may be unclear. More, but that step has the power to turn impossibility into undeniable evidence of faith fulfilled. More, one day you will look back and realize that the things you once feared most are now the very stories you use to inspire others. More, the impossible will not remain impossible forever. It will become your testimony, your proof that stepping out in faith changes everything. More, when you look back at everything we've explored, one truth shines above them all: the impossible is never meant to stop you. It is meant to stretch you. More. It is an invitation to rise beyond reasoning, to trust when you cannot see, and to keep moving when obstacles try to block your way. More. Faith does not wait for perfect conditions. It steps into uncertainty believing the ground will appear. More. It does not crumble at resistance, but grows stronger through it. More. It does not live by what is visible, but by the inner assurance that the unseen is more powerful than the seen. And above all, more, it does not cling to timelines of its own making, but surrenders to a timing that is wiser, richer, and more perfect than anything human hands could design. More, when you choose to live this way, when you dare to believe for the impossible and step out in faith, you transform your life into a living testimony. More, what once felt overwhelming becomes evidence of your endurance. What once felt unmovable becomes proof of your courage. More, the impossible bows before the persistence of one who refuses to quit and chooses instead to trust. So as you leave here today, remember this: more. Your greatest breakthroughs will not come when everything is easy, clear, or certain. More. They will come when you are bold enough to believe in what your eyes cannot yet see, when you step into places that scare you. More. And when you surrender your control for a higher plan. And when you do, more, you will discover that the impossible was never impossible at all. It was simply waiting for your faith to unlock it.